Welcome to the Carmel Bar Nature Reserve, where local endangered species are reared and put back into nature. Soon, you'll walk along the paths of the green Mount Carmel and see our animals, some of whom will be heading back into the wild. About 150 years ago, a major development affected the fauna of Israel and the entire Middle East. The introduction of firearms led to the rapid annihilation of several wildlife species. Roe deer and fallow deer disappeared completely from Israel. The disappearance of the grazers and overhunting soon led to the disappearance of the predators too, including leopards, cheetahs, wolves, and bears. Birds of prey that once nested on the cliffs and in the woodlands also disappeared due to hunting and poisoning. In the 1970s, the director of what was then the Nature Reserves Authority, Reserve General Rami Yosifov, began to realize a popular dream: to bring the animals of the Bible back to Israel. He established two wildlife reserves, Bar Yosifov in the Arava Desert and Bar Carmel in the Mediterranean highlands, and began a worldwide search for the animals that once roamed Israel's countryside, including oryxes, wild asses, wild goats, and wild sheep. Ever since, the reserves have encouraged the acclimatization, reproduction, restoration, and rejuvenation of endangered or extinct species. Fallow deer were the highlight of Yosifov's dream. At that time, a small herd of the same species of Mesopotamian fallow deer that had become extinct locally still existed in an Iranian nature reserve. On a visit to Israel several years earlier, the Shah of Iran's brother had promised Yosifov 2 pairs of fallow deer. Though the Shah's family had fled from Iran at the beginning of the uprising, Yosifov refused to forfeit this treasure which he had been promised. In 1978, as the Battle of the Khomeinist Revolution raged, he sent Mike van Grivenbroek, then the head of the Yotvata Bar Reserve, to collect the promised deer. Itzik Segev, Israel's military attaché in Iran, joined in the effort. Mike arrived with an explicit promise from the Shah's brother, Abd el-Riza, of 2 pair of fallow deer for the Nature Reserves Authority. There were huge demonstrations on the streets. We went straight to Abd el-Riza. Mike arrived, and the man responsible for the Caspian Seas region nature reserves began helping him find 2 pairs. Then, as they departed, Mike let it slip that they were headed for Israel, and the Iranians said, "For Israel? Not even one." Mike decided to save the situation. In a rushed and secret operation, he caught 4 deer and got them to the airport. The fallow deer were flown to Israel on the last El flight to leave Tehran. Here, they were entrusted to Salah Makladeh, under whose dedicated care they have multiplied into a flourishing herd of several hundred, the largest of its kind in the world today. Avraham arrived with crates and said, "Either we succeed with this herd and return the fallow deer to the countryside, or we fail. It's up to you." I worked day and night. I lived with the animals to sense what they were feeling, because we didn't have any others, and there was nowhere to get any more. By 1996, we were able to release about 400 deer, and we set free the first batch. I even cried when the trucks left with the crates to release them. In 1996, the release of fallow deer into Nahal Gziv began and became a success story that continues to the present day. Fallow deer that are ready to survive on their own are subdued with anesthetized darts. Some have transmitters strapped to their necks to help monitor their movement in the wild, in the Galilee, on Mount Carmel, or in the Jerusalem hills. A small herd of roe deer, smaller and more delicate than the fallow deer, is also being raised in the Bar Carmel Reserve for release in Mount Horshan Nature Reserve and at Ramat HaNadiv. Today, small herds of fallow and roe deer live freely in Israel's countryside. They mate successfully, producing growing numbers of offspring who have never experienced life in captivity. Monitoring cameras in the field provide information about the condition of the wild animals around Mount Carmel and provide researchers with real-time information. Apart from the fallow and roe deer, the high Bar Carmel Reserve also houses a wide variety of other wildlife species, including birds of prey also slated to return to nature. In 1996, the Nature and National Parks Authority, the Israel Electric Company, and the Society for the Protection of Nature established a project called Spread a Wing. The project works to save Israel's birds of prey. As part of this project, a reproduction, acclimatization, and release center for endangered birds of prey was established. Vulture chicks that hatch in the reproduction cage or the incubator are cared for tenderly and transferred to special acclimatization cages. At age 2, each vulture receives an identification mark on its wing, and some are fitted with radio transmitters. Then they are released to join Israel's free vulture population. As part of the Spread a Wing project, the Israel Electric Corporation operates a special shielding program to prevent the electrocution of birds of prey on high-tension power lines. Thousands of electricity poles near sensitive areas with large vulture populations have been shielded, allowing them to be landed upon safely. But electrocution is not the only threat to Israel's vulture population. The expansion of urbanization and built-up areas at the expense of open spaces, illegal hunting, chemical pesticides, and a shrinking food supply all add to the danger. In recent years, dozens of vultures in the Galilee and the Golan Heights have died after eating poisoned cattle carcasses intended for the wolves and jackals which prey on local calves. To minimize future damage from poisoning, the Nature and National Parks Authority provides farmers and ranchers with advice and help in devising alternative solutions. The authority's staff also operates stations providing safe food for the vultures to make up for the lack of natural sources and prevent them eating poisoned carcasses. High Bar Carmel Reserve also has such a station where vultures are fed carcasses collected from regional farms under close veterinary supervision. Since 2005, we have seen expanding activity by vultures on Mount Carmel. The birds are nesting in the cliffs again after an interval of over 50 years. The reserve is also breeding other endangered birds of prey, including Egyptian vultures, Lanner falcons, Benelli's eagles, and white-tailed eagles. The offspring are released into nature in the hope that as adults, they will choose to nest on Mount Carmel or in other natural areas around Israel. But not only large animals need protection programs. Extensive surveys showed a sharp fall in the number of fire salamanders, a rare species that live near water sources in northern Israel. These salamanders are very sensitive to water quality, and their numbers have fallen due to pollution and urban development. A pool was built at the High Bar Carmel Reserve where the salamanders can grow and recover. Here, they develop safely, dispersing in nature by themselves and becoming protected tenants in the reserve. The High Bar Reserve is one of several nature reserves on the Carmel, which together form a green lung in which humans and nature coexist peacefully. The Carmel has been declared a biospheric reserve, which integrates nature, humans, communities, and farmland, and preserves the balance among them. The Carmel is a popular venue for nature lovers year-round, but especially during winter and spring when it abounds with color. Carpets of wildflowers, including the rare Madonna lily, attract picnickers from all over the country. In summer, as the vegetation dries, wildfires become a threat to the Mediterranean woodland. Mount Carmel has known some major wildfires over the years, all of which were caused by humans. The Big Fire of 1989 caused extensive damage to the area, and another fire in 2010 even led to loss of life. To reduce the risk of fires, buffer zones were established. Controlled grazing by livestock and fallow deer also forms part of the solution. The High Bar Reserve offers visitors a glimpse of the sensitive world of nature and works as a hub for educational and community activity, hosting volunteers from Haifa and the region. Restoring wildlife to the woodland, together with respect for nature by visitors, can help promise a flourishing future for the Carmel. The animals of the Bible will roam freely in the natural woodland, and we will enjoy a richer and more ecologically balanced environment.